I recently completed a webinar about business development, and one of the participants asked a follow-up question that I wanted to answer here. The question was, what do you recommend professional service firms like ours have people do to build business? But we do see a number of answers that are going to be consistent for most firms. So in one category of business development, you want to generate leads. And there are two categories of things that we see your team members being able to do to generate leads. The first thing is for senior folks or for subject matter experts, they can get out and speak. What you want to do is work with them, get clear on how you want your firm to be known, what value you want your firm to be known for, and look for opportunities to get your subject matter experts out there to talk about a project that he or she succeeded with recently that communicates themselves or their team or your firm. The second activity is far broader than that. The way we see it, you can have just about every member of your firm, whether they're client-facing or not, participate in representing the value of your firm wherever they go. Now, there are going to be two kinds of conversations that can be had by two kinds of folks in your organization. For those of your team members who do go to industry events, they can introduce themselves, they can communicate the value proposition of the firm, and they can get to know whoever they're talking to and qualify those folks. And in that process, they can determine, ooh, this would be a good person for somebody in the firm to follow up with. For those members of your team who don't go to conferences, but get out of the house, get out of the organization in some way, I think you want them to be able to communicate the value proposition of your firm so that when they meet anyone else, if that person is a prospect, they can say, oh, I'd be interested in learning more about that. Or if they know somebody who could be a strong prospect, they might say, hey, I'm next door neighbors with somebody who you just described that you guys help. Could I make an introduction? Now, the next category of business development activity is pre-positioning. It is actively working a relationship, an existing relationship. So it's after the lead generation has occurred, after that lead has been handed to somebody whose responsibility is to build relationships with qualified prospects. That process is building a relationship of trust and listening. It's reaching out and connecting with these qualified leads on a regular basis, sitting down with them, finding out the nature of their business, finding out the nature of them as a professional, finding out the nature of them as a human being. It's being there in a relationship in which you are getting to know each other. The next category of business development is listening for possibility. Now, this is already going on with the folks who are in the pre-positioning process with qualified leads. You also want folks who are on site with clients, already working with your clients to listen for future possibility. It's extremely common for organizations to talk about their next project or a project farther down the path. If your team members can listen for possibility while they're on site, they can say, oh, hey, you're working on blah, blah, blah project a year or two down the road. Hey, would it make sense for me to connect you with so-and-so back at the office? I think a valuable conversation could be had there. Something like that. You don't need them to be able to sell, but man, it's valuable to you if they can listen and if they can just stick their hand up and ask for the possibility of a member of your team actually doing something that can provide value towards whatever it is that they're gearing up for in the future. Now, the final category of business development is following up with existing clients and maintaining relationships with those existing clients. It's not necessarily about generating new business with anyone new. It's about sustaining the relationship, wanting to continue to provide continued value to that existing relationship, perhaps on the project that just wrapped up, or more likely on future projects as they open up in the future. You're going to want a carefully chosen team member to be paired with an existing client and have them sustain that relationship over time. So these are the big business development activity categories as we see them. Let us know if we missed anything major that you have on your radar and that you want your team members to do.